Thank you very much to once again to welcome you to Medzone African Motives. Today as well, I want us to come and look at an AC questions, which is section C. As you know, we are still under Business Studies Grade 12. Term 3 revisions, that is paper 2. As we are preparing for the coming paper 2 exam that we're going to read, that we're going to write for preparatory exams. So we are going to look at the essay questions. So make sure that you are going to share with others. Make sure that you're going to share with others. So without wasting much time, let's quickly go to section C. So there is an instruction there that says, answer one question in these sections. Note, clearly indicate the question number of each question chosen. The answer to the question must start on a new page. Example, question 5 on a new page or question 6 on a new page. So you are to answer one question, but as you are going to answer both of them, question 5 and question 6, as to make sure that we are going to prepare ourselves. We are going to prepare ourselves so that we are going to be ready to write the coming paper 2 that we are going to write very soon. So without wasting time, let us go to question 5. Let us attempt question 5. Question 5, it's business ventures, investment, securities. So there is a scenario that is given there. Zuki recently won 10 million in the lottery. She is considered investing in preference share. She is considered investing in preference share unit trust on the Johannesburg Securities Exchange Limited. So now we are to write an essay to guide Sugi on the following investment aspects. So we are going to use these aspects to write our essay. And remember that the essay that we are going to write, we are going to write it in point form. We are not going to write it in a continuous way, but we are going to write it in points form. That is very important. So the first aspect says outline the functions of a Johannesburg exchange. Outline the functions of the Johannesburg exchange, the JCE. So we are to outline what the functions of this. So now let us quickly attend to it. So before we can write our essay, we are first going to start by the introduction. Here are our answers. So we are first going to start by the introduction. So the introduction is 2 marks, like it says. So you are going to choose one of these points that we are going to talk about, and then that will earn you how much? 2 marks. So first it says the Johannesburg Security Exchange. The Johannesburg Security Exchange is a formal market. It's a formal market comprising of all public companies that have been listed. So meaning to say it is an organized and regulated marketplace. It is an organized, regulated marketplace. Regulated marketplace. So that is that. Where only listed companies can trade their shares. So the listed one, where only companies listed, public company, listed can trade their shares. So that is that. So also we are told that various services are offered to the listed companies by the JSA, Johannesburg Security Exchange. So that is another answer that you can write your introduction by. So that is various services are offered to the listed companies by the JSA. So that is that. This is where when we are saying the JSA is going to provide companies with access to capital. So it's going to provide companies with access to capital, access to capital. Also, we can talk about trading platforms, trading platforms. So that is that. So when we are talking about this, when you're talking about this point is for this. Well, when you're talking about various services are offered, various services are offered to listed companies by the Johannesburg Security Exchange. That's wherever we are saying if there are those services that are offered, it means the companies are going to be have an access to capital, trading platforms, investor exposure, as well as expert valuation. It will be evaluated by the expert. Hope we understand that. So that is that. Also, the other answer that we are given here is that shares represent the parts of the company that a person or group of people own. So here we are talking about what? We are talking about the share as ownership. We are talking about shares as ownership. We're talking about shares as ownership, where we are saying shares represent the parts of the company that a person or group of people own. So shares as owner, that is a share represents that is a share that represents a portion of ownership in a company, giving the holder rights to profits or dividends. That is when we're talking about what shares as ownership. That's what this point describes. Also, you're told about the preference shares now. Preference shares. Preference shares can be considered as viable investment. They can be considered as viable investment. So it means they are going to attract. They are attractive. Preference shares are attractive. They are attractive. They are attractive. So preference shares are attractive because they pay fixed dividends because of the shareholders are going to get fixed dividends no matter whether the company has made a profit or loss. That is what makes the share, the preference share to be seen as a viable investment. That is that. So it means that uh, they have a priority over ordinary shares. So that is why they are attractive because of fixed dividends. Also, they have priority over the ordinary shareholders. That's what makes the preference shares to be considered as a viable investment. Also, investors Investors have a range of investment opportunities. They have what? A range of investment opportunities to choose from. So that is that. The investment opportunity to choose from. Investors can pick from shares, bonds, unit trust, property funds. That is that. So they have what? A range of investment opportunities to choose from. That is where we are saying they can pick from shares, can pick from shares, they can pick from bonds, They can also go for unit trust. That is that. So that's what this point means when they say the investors have a range investment opportunities to choose from. Also, they measure now. They measure these investment opportunities against the criteria. They measure these investment opportunities against criteria for good investment, against the criteria for good investment. So now we're talking about the measure opportunities against good investment. So we're talking about the measure opportunities against the criteria. So that is what it means that investments are assessed by return. That is why we're saying that investments are assessed by return, risk, liquidity. So that's what it means. Investments are assessed. They are assessed by their returns, the return on investment. Also, the risk of investing, tax as well, safety, and etc. So that is why this point is they measure these investment opportunities against criteria for good investment, against the criteria for good investment. So it simply says that is where we say the investments are assessed by the return that they're going to give, that risk, also tax and the safety of the investment. Hope we are together on that. So also it further says investors set financial goals and consider different factors when making the decisions. So investors set their financial goals. So they look at their financial goals, the returns on the investment. So then that will help them to make what the informed decision now. That will help them to make what the informed decision because of what the financial goals. So that is that. Entrepreneurs who start business ventures must show return on their investment. So entrepreneurs who start business ventures, they must show what the return on their investment. We are talking about what profit. That is their reward. Entrepreneurs, the rewards that they are looking for is what is a profit. So they have to look at that profit that they're going to get is a good profit or not. So now we're talking about the unit trust. Unit trust consists of number of different shares, securities put together and managed by a fund manager. That is put together managed by that expert manager who has been working or who has an experience when it comes to Johannesburg Securities Exchange. That is that. So this is how you can give out what the introduction. So you can choose one of these points that we have just talked about, and that will earn you 2 marks. So now we are moving on now. We are moving on to the aspects now. As you have seen now, we are moving on to aspects now. As you can see now, we asked to outline the functions of the Johannesburg Securities Exchange. That is that. So now let us go and try to answer that aspect. Let us go and try to answer that aspect. So here we are on the functions of a Johannesburg Securities Exchange. So here we are under Johannesburg Securities Exchange. Okay, right. The functions, the first function here on our answer, on our answers, on our memo is that it gives opportunities to financial institutions such as insurance companies to invest their funds in shares. So it gives what opportunity to financial institutions. So financial institutions, you can talk about insurance like they've talked about it, can talk about banks, can talk about companies and investment firms. So they can be able to trade, invest and raise funds through shares. They can be able to trade, that is that, invest and raise funds through shares. So that is what it means. So also we are given that it serves as a barometer or indicator of economic conditions in South Africa. So it serves as a barometer of economic conditions. So meaning to say the rising or falling share prices reflect the overall health of the economy. That's why we were saying it serves as an indicator or barometer of economic conditions. So rising or falling share prices reflect the overall health of the economy. So it will show us the overall health of the economy. So that's why we're saying rising or falling share prices reflect the overall health of the economy. Health of the economy. So that is that. So that is why this answer, it says it serves as a barometer or indicator of the economy conditions in South Africa. So that is why we are saying rising or falling of share prices reflect the overall health of the economy. Also, another function of the Johannesburg Security Exchange is that it keeps investors informed on share prices by publishing the share prices daily. So it keeps what? It keeps investors informed on the share prices by publishing the share prices daily. So it keeps investors informed on share prices. It provides up-to-date information. So it provides up-to-date information. It provides up-to-date information so that investors can make what? Decision. That is that. So it also acts as a link between investors as well as what? Public companies. That is another function of the JSE. That is another function of the JSE. So it links between investors and public. So it means it connects people who want to invest with capital, with companies that need capital. So it gives what? It gives connection. It gives connection. So it gives connection by connecting what? People want to invest with companies that need capital. So that is that. Also, shares are valued and assessed by experts. They are valued and assessed by the experts. That is another function of the Johannesburg Security Exchange, where we are saying shares valued are assessed by the expert. So the analysts evaluate companies' performance to the investors. So the analyst is going to try by all means to evaluate now the company's performance to the investors. Hope we are together on that. Now moving on, another function is that small investors are invited to take part in the economy of the country. Small investors are invited to take part in the economy of the country through buying or selling of the shares. Through buying and selling of the shares. So what it means with this point, it means that small business, they take part. Small business take part by trying by all means to allow small business to participate in the economy by buying what? By buying and selling, shares. So here we're talking about the participation of the small business. Participation of the small business as they are allowed to take part. They are allowed to take part to participate in the economy by buying as well as what? Selling the shares. That is another function of the JSE. Now it further says venture capital market is made available on the open market. Venture capital is made available on the open market. So venture capital, that is where now we're going to say, we're going to provide the fund opportunities for new and growing business. This is why now we're going to give what? The funding opportunities. Funding opportunities. Funding opportunities for new as well as growing business. That's what it means. Also, another point, orderly market for securities serve as a disciplined market for securities. It serves as what? As a disciplined market for security. So a disciplined market for securities. So it means it is going to ensure fair and orderly trading under strict rules. It is going to ensure fair, that is whereby it ensures fair, it ensures fair as well as orderly trading under strict rules. So that is that it ensures the fairness as well as the orderly trading under the strict rules. So that's what it means. So now let us move on. Also, another function is that encourages new investment in South African companies. Encourages new investment in South African companies. Meaning to say, it encourages new investment. It attracts investors to put money into companies. So it's going to attract now companies to put money in. It's going to attract investors, sorry. It's going to attract investors, not companies. Attract investors. Attract investors to put money. Going to attract investors. Attract investors to put money into companies. So that's what it means when you're saying it encourages new investment in South African companies. So now we're moving on. raises primary capital. It raises primary capital. So, meaning to say, it helps company raise money by issuing new shares. It helps company to raise money. It helps company to raise money by issuing what? Shares. By issuing shares. So that is that. Also, moving further, on, it says regulates the market for dealing with shares. It regulates the market for dealing with shares. That is that. So, meaning to say, it's going to enforce rules to ensure fair play and protect participants. As we are saying, it regulates the market for dealing with shares. It means it's going to enforce rules to ensure fair play. Going to enforce what? Rules to, to ensure fair play. To ensure fair play. As well as to protect what? The participant. Hope we are still on one page. Now we are moving on. It says plans, researches, advises on the investment possibilities. That is that. So it provides research, forecast, and guidance for investors. So it's going to do what? Research, forecast, and also give what? Guidance to the investors. Also, ensure that the market operates in a transparent manner. Ensure that market, now we're talking about the transparency, where it's going to make sure that the market operates in a transparent manner. So that is where they have to do what again? To publish accurate and reliable information about listed companies. That is how they can show what? A transparency. Now moving on, also it provides protection for investors. It provides protection for investors by safeguarding what? Investors against fraud. So they safeguard investors against fraud. They safeguard investors against fraud. Against fraud and unfair practices. So that is that. Also, it says it facilitates electronic trading of shares or trade. Facilitate electronic trading of shares or trade. So it means it enables fast, secure, efficient online share trading. That's what it means. So now let us move on to another aspect. So the other aspect says explain four types of what? Preference share. Explain four types of preference shares. Now we are to give four types of preference share. So let us move on and try to give answers on that aspect. On that aspect. So moving on. So here we are, where we are to talk about. Here are the answers. Types of preference shares. Here are the answers. So we have what? Participative preference share. We have participative preference share. So when you talk of participative preference share, this is where you allow holders or shareholders to share extra profits after fixed dividend. So that is what it means. We are saying this is where you allow shareholders to share extra profits, to share extra profits, extra profits after fixed dividend, after fixed dividend. So you allow shareholders to share profit, to share extra profits after fixed dividend. So example, where we can talk about a bank pays fixed 10%. Fixed 10% plus bonus if profits are high. If profits are high, there will be a bonus. That is the extra profit that we are talking about. When you're talking about what? Participating preference share. So like as it says now, shareholders are guaranteed minimum fixed dividends. So there are fixed dividends. When you're talking about that, they are there if you are to get 80% fixed you are to get 80% of your fixed dividends, you are still going to get it, whether the company made profit or loss, you are getting it. Also, you're told that are entitled to share any surplus company profits. So you're talking about when now you are having what? The extra. When the profits are high now, you are to share those extra profits. So they receive higher dividends when the company performs well. So that is that. When the company performs well, it means there are more profits that the company is making. So you're going to add that extra with your fixed dividends that we've talked about. So also have preferential rights over ordinary shares. So they have what? The preferential rights over ordinary shares on repayment when the company closes down. So they are the first that they're going to get what? Get paid. They are the ones to get their capital back before the ordinary shareholders. Hope we are together. Now let us move on. Now let us move on to another type. So the another type of preference share is what? Non-participating preference share. Non-participating preference share. So with this one, when you're talking about non-participating preference share, we are talking about only entitled to fixed dividend. The shareholders are only entitled to fixed dividend. They are only entitled, to fixed dividends. To fixed dividends. Unlike in participating preference share, whereby when the company is performing well, there are bonuses that they are going to add to your fixed dividends. But with this one, non-participating preference share, the shareholders are only entitled to fixed dividends. There are no extra share in profits. It means no extra share in profits. That's what it means. So example, a company pays 8% every year, nothing more. That is that. Nothing more. So here are the points that we are giving. Shareholders receive an amount equal to the initial investment plus accrued and unpaid dividends upon liquidation. That is that. Do not have right to participate in profits. Like we have said that they don't have right after the equity shareholders have been paid a dividend. So as you know, they are only entitled to fixed dividends. Will not get extra dividend in case of surplus profits. That is that. Are entitled to receive only fixed rate of dividend every year. So that is what I've said. If it's 8%, whether there are more profits that the company has made, they are going to get what? The 80%. Whether the company made loss, then they are still going to get their 80% dividend. So now let us move on to now cumulative preference share. Let us move now to cumulative preference share. So with cumulative preference share, that's when you're talking about unpaid dividends accumulate that are going to be accumulated. So we're going to talk about unpaid dividends. Unpaid dividends accumulate and must be paid later. And must be paid later. So that is that. Example, if dividends not paid in last year, 2024, they are going to be carried forward to 2025. So those unpaid dividends, they are going to be carried forward to the next year, next financial year. Meaning the shareholders, they are still going to get their dividends. That is what a cumulative preference share is all about. So here, the point that we're given is that shareholders are compensated for past dividends, like I've said, that were not paid out when profits were too low to declare the dividends. So receive dividends not previously paid. That's what it means about the cumulative preference share. Those dividends that were not paid because the profits were too low, they are going to be carried out. They are going to be carried forward to the next financial year. We'll be together on that. Let us move on now. Let us move on to another type of preference share. Now we are under non-accumulative now. A non-accumulative preference share. Non-accumulative preference share. So with non-accumulative preference share, if dividends not declared, shareholders loses it for that year. So we are saying if there are no dividends that were declared, it means you're going to lose these dividends for that year. That's what it means with non-cumulative preference share. That is why we are saying if dividend not declared, shareholders, then the shareholder loses it. It's going to lose it. It's going to lose it for, going to loses it for the, loses it for that year. So unlike with cumulative, where now is carried forward. This one is not carried forward. If there are no dividends that were not, dividends were not declared for that year, it means you are going to lose that dividends because it's not carried forward to the next year. So it says shareholders are not compensated for the past dividends that were not paid. That's what it means. You are not going to be compensated for the past dividends that were not paid out when profits were low. So hope we are together on that. So now let us move on to another type of preference share. So now we are under redeemable preference share. Redeemable preference share. So that is where we are. So with redeemable now, what is all about redeemable preference share? That is, company can buy back shares after a set period. A company can buy back shares after a set period. After a set period. That's what it says. So they can For example, shares redeemed after 10 years at issue price. So they can be bought back. So shares can be redeemed or bought back at the option of the issuing company, either at a fixed price on a specified date or over a certain period at a certain period of time. So it means the shares can be bought back. But with non-redeemable now we are on non-redeemable because we are from the redeemable preference share. Non-redeemable preference share now. So this one, shares cannot be bought back. Shares cannot be bought back. They cannot be bought back. Shares cannot be bought back. They exist as long as the company exists. As long as there is a company is existing, they are going to exist. The shares are still there. So it means the investor holds them permanently until the company liquidates. So that is that. So as it says, shares are only bought back when the company closes down for reasons other than bankruptcy. So that is that. So now let us move on to another type of shares, whereby now we have to talk about a convertible preference shares. Convertible preference shares. So now with convertible shares, that is where we're saying shares can be converted into ordinary shares after a time. We are saying shares can be converted. They can be converted into ordinary shares. Into ordinary shares after a time. After a time. Shares can be converted into ordinary shares after a time. So we can say 2026 preference shares they are convertible into 100 ordinary shares. So it's possible that. So here it says shares can be converted into predetermined number of ordinary shares on the date specified when preference shares were issued. So that is that. So now let us move on. So this one were convertible preference share. So now we are under non-convertible preference share. So this one, non-convertible shares, they cannot be changed into ordinary shares. Cannot be changed. They cannot be changed into ordinary shares. Into ordinary shares. They cannot be changed into ordinary shares. As it says, shares cannot be converted into ordinary shares. So that is that. So now we are to move on to another aspect. So the other aspect is discuss the following factors that must be considered when making an investment. Discuss the following factors that must be considered when making investment. So we are given what? Return on investment, that is ROI, taxation, inflation rate. So those are the factors that we are to consider when we are making a investment decision. We are making what? Investment decision. So let us go to the answers now. So here we are under the factors to be considered when making investment decision. So we are first going to talk about what? ROI, return on investment. Return on investment. As we know that investors, The investors consider how much profit or income they will earn compared to the amount invested. So they do what? Investors, consider, they consider profit, how much profit or income they will earn. They will earn compared to the amount invested. They will earn compared to the amount invested. To the amount invested. So that is that. They want to know the return on investment. How much they are going to earn compared to the amount that they have invested. So they want to a return on investment. So that is that. They want return on investment. So for example, we can say you are going to choose between savings account, which sometimes is 5% return, and shares, whereby now the shares is what 12% return. So you need to know if I go for savings, how much are the return for going for savings? 5%. But if I go and buy shares, I'm going to get a 12% return. So you're going to try by all means to try to see the income investment. This is where we're going to try to see what the income from the investment. That is why it says refers to income from the investment, namely interest and dividends, increase capital growth on the original amount invested. So how much your original amount is going to give you, the results, the interest that is going to pay you back with. Then it said, generally, there will be a direct link between risk and a return. That is true. There will be a direct link between one, a risk and a return, because you mind risk what? You mind risk when you're investing. So it's a risk whereby now the returns that you're going to get are very low. So that is that. Also, the return should be expressed as a net after tax gains on the investment. So you know the tax gains, that is whereby now when you're investing and then you are paying what? A less tax. You are paying a less, you are given that by government to pay what? Less tax. So the return should be expressed as a net after tax gains on the investment. So people who invest, they always get that bargain of paying less tax. Returns can be in the form of capital gains where the asset appreciates in value over time. So the returns can be in the form of capital gains because you're going to invest, you're going to make investment and it's going to mature over time. So that is that. The net after tax return should be higher than in inflation rate. So that is that. So these are the answers that you are to give under the ROI, return on investment. So now let us move on to another factor. Let us move on to another factor, which is what? Taxation. Which is a taxation now. So with tax, we are talking about taxes on profits, talking about taxes, talking about taxes on profits, taxes on profits, on dividends. That is that. Taxes on profits or dividends or interest effect on the final earnings from an investment. So those are what we are trying to say. Because if dividends, let's say, are taxed at 20% a day, on the net return decreases. The net return decreases. So what it means there under the points that we are given is that refers to the compulsory payment made by the citizens to the government. So it's a compulsory payment that is made by citizens to the government. They are to pay what? Tax. So your profits are going to be taxes, your dividends are going to be taxes. That is that. So a good investment will yield good after tax returns. So if the investment is very good, it means it's going to yield you with what? With good returns. So that is why we are saying a good investment will yield you good after tax returns. That is that. Income tax implications must be considered in order to ensure high net after tax return. That is that. Tax rates are not necessarily the same for different investment. So that is that under tax. So now let us move on to inflation rate now. Let us move on to inflation rate. So with inflation now, the inflation, we are mainly talking about rising prices reduce the real value of returns. So that is that rising prices reduce the real value of returns. The real value of returns. So investments should outpace what? Inflation. The investment should outpace the inflation. For example, if inflation is 6%, so your return is 5%, you actually lose 1% in the real terms. So that is that. So we are given that inflation refers to decrease in the value of money due to rising prices. That is it. Decrease in the value of money due to the rising of the prices. So that is that. People are affected by a high inflation rate because their money and purchasing power decreases. So if the prices now increases, the rising of the prices, it means that is going to even affect the purchasing power. People are not going to buy in numbers. They are going to go and buy the inferior goods because of now they cannot be able to manage or afford. The return on investment should be higher than the inflation rate. That is that. The return on investment should be higher than what? The inflation rate. That is when you can say it's right, it's okay. Inflation has a positive impact on some investment, such as property and shares, where the income will increase as inflation increases. So that way it's positive impact on some investments like the property or shares, because when the inflation increases, when the inflation increases, it means even what the incomes do increase. So that way it's positive. Unlike whereby now the inflation increases and the incomes are still staying the same. You see that way it's negative. So that is that you are expected to answer this factor. Those are the important points that you are to raise under this factor, inflation rate. Inflation rate. So now we have to move on to another. We have to move on to another aspect. So the other aspect that we are to talk about under question 5 essay is evaluate the advantages of unit trust as a good investment. As a good investment. So now we are to go and Let's go to the answers. Let us go to the answers. So we are under the advantages now of the unit trust as a good investment. Advantages of a unit trust as a good investment. So it says managed by a fund manager who buys shares on the Johannesburg Security Exchange. So it is managed by a fund manager who buys shares on the Johannesburg Securities Exchange. So we're talking about the expert now who is going to handle now the investment on behalf of the investor. So we're talking about what? The expert. We're talking about the expert. We're talking about the expert who is now going to handle the investments on behalf of what? On behalf of the investors. We're talking about the experts. That is the experts that we are talking about. He's going to handle the investment on behalf of what? On behalf of the investors. So we are talking about a professional who's going to decide whether to buy MTN or Shoprite shares. So that is where we are saying it's managed by a fund manager who buys shares on Johannesburg Securities of Exchange. Also, the investor has a variety to choose from a wider range of shares from lower to higher degrees of risk. So investor has a variety to choose from. So the investor can choose from different what? Different funds. So he has that opportunity of variety of wider range of shares from lower to the higher degree of the risk. That is one. Then it says safe investment as it is managed according to the rules and regulations. So that is a safe investment because of there are rules. It is under the strict rules. So it is very safe that you know very well that when you are investing into the unit trust, you are safe because there are rules that are latent. There are regulations as well. A small amount can be invested per month. A small amount can be invested. A small amount can be invested. That's what it means. The small amount can be invested. So investors do not need a lot of money to start. They do not need what? They do not need a lot of money to start. So it is easy to start it. It doesn't require a lot of money. Hope we understand. So we can even invest it as little as 500 monthly. So you see, it is easy to do it. Easy to invest in. So easy to invest in. So there are simple applications through banks online platform. Example, buying units via Standard Bank app, and that is that. So it is easy to invest in. As investors, simple compete a few relevant forms or invest online. So that is a simple application through banks. The what? A simple application. And write it this one, simple application. So that is that. Easy to invest in, easy to cash in when an investor needs money. So that is easy to cash in. So units can be sold back to the fund anytime. So the units can be sold back to the fund. Back to the fund anytime. So that is that. That's what it means, whereby now we're saying the investor, it is easy to cash in as when an investor needs what? Money. So that is that. The investor can throw money to pay school fees. That is that. That's what it means. Fluctuations in unit trust rates of return are often not severe because of diversity of the investment fund. The fluctuations of the unit trust, they are not that severe because of the diversity of the investment fund. So that is that. So general, generally beats what inflation on the medium or long term. Generally beats inflation on medium or long term. So returns are usually higher than rising prices. Returns are usually higher than rising prices. So that's what it means. Whereby we can even make an example where we say inflation 6% interest earns 10% over 5 years. So returns usually higher than rising prices. That is why we are saying it generally beats the inflation on the medium or long term. Competitive, competitive returns in the form of capital growth and dividend distribution. So that is that. So it offers returns better than saving accounts. You can say that it offers what? The returns that are better than saving account. Returns are better than savings accounts. Are better than savings accounts. Are better than saving accounts. That's what it means when you're saying offer competitive returns. It offers competitive returns in the form of capital growth. In the form of capital growth, the capital is going to grow because of the returns and dividends distribution. That is that. So also fund managers are knowledgeable. They are knowledgeable, they are experts, reliable, trustworthy, as they are required to be accredited to sell unit trust. So that is that. Now we are to attend to conclusion. We are to attend to conclusion. So that is that. So remember, as we have started with the introduction, we are also expected to conclude our AC, which is also 2 marks. So this is how we are going to conclude it. Listed companies on the Johannesburg Security Exchange will get more exposure to possible investors. The listed companies on the Johannesburg Securities will get more exposure to possible investors because the investors will come and then try by all means to invest with such companies. So they will be exposed, and by that way, they will be able to grow their capital. Dividends paid out on preference shares will attract more people to invest in a company. Why are they going to attract more people? Is because you know for sure that the preference shares, they are always they are always promised what a fixed dividend percentage. Whether the business made a profit or loss, they are for sure that they are guaranteed that they're going to get their dividend. So that is why that will attract more people to invest in a company because they know for sure that they are secured. A business that is managed successfully will make number of investments over a period of time. So the business that is managed successfully. So the business that is managed successfully, it simply says it's going to attract more investors because investors want to invest to a business that is performing well. So the business that is doing well, which has more sales, which is profitable, so it will attract as many investors as it can. So that is that. Business should invest extra cash to generate more income rather than leaving it in the business current account. So business should invest extra cash. So they are not to leave the cash into the current account. So they have to reinvest it so that they can grow their business. So they are to invest extra cash to generate more income. They are to invest extra cash so that they will have more income rather than to leave the money into the account, just staying there in the account doing nothing. Anyone can invest in unit trust by investing a single lump sum or certain amount every month. So that is the conclusion of our question 5. So now we are to move on to question 6 now. We are to move on to question 6. So let us go to question 6 and see what it holds for us. What it holds for us. So here we are on our question 6. So question 6 reads as follows. Business rules, team performance, and conflict management. So there is a scenario that we are given. Intolerance between employees due to unhappiness and conflicts contribute to lower productivity. Therefore, employees sometimes stay away from work without following the correct grievance procedure. Business spend large amounts of money and time on team building exercises and projects. So we are going to answer, or we are going to do our essay with those points that are given there in the scenario. So it says keeping the above statement in mind. So when you're doing your essay, make sure that we are going to keep that statement in mind. That is how you can write it very well. Write an essay on the following aspects of team performance. So here are the aspects that are given, like in question 5, we're given the aspects, and then we are to write an essay based on the given aspects. So the first one says differentiate between a grievance as well as what? A conflict. That is the first aspect. Make sure that you are going to be able to give a differentiation between these two. Explain 3 criteria for successful team performance. Criteria for successful team performance. Discuss different stages of team development. Advise the business on how they should handle conflict in the workplace. So these are the aspects that we are to attend on. So let's quickly go to the answers now and see how we are to answer this question. And see how we are to answer this question. So here we are on question 6. Here are our answers for question 6. Business rules, team performance, and conflict. So like we have said earlier on that when we are writing an essay, we have to make sure that you're going to start with what? With introduction. So as you know, with introduction, you're going to earn how many marks? 2 marks. 2 marks. So it's a grievance procedure is a process. It's a process of steps which ensure that the well-being of employees is alerted and managed. So that is a grievance procedure that the employees must follow when there is something that does not sit well with them. They don't have to just sit at home and then say we are unhappy or we are treated not well, we are ill-treated, stuff like that. So there is what a grievance procedures that they have to go through. That is why we are told that the steps or the process which ensure that the well-being of employees is alerted and management. Is alerted management. Teamwork refers to the number of people collaborating or working together effectively in order to reach what? A common goal. Remember, our essay is about what? Team performance as well as what? Conflict. That is where you come across the word teamwork. So that is whereby there is a collaboration working together of employees, management, so that they can reach what? Their common goal. So that is a teamwork when people are working together. So when they are giving out their ideas, their opinions, their views together, sharing ideas that will enable them to reach what? The common goal. Successful teams go through different stages of team development. Of team development. So we're saying successful teams go through different stages of team development in order to become successful and effective. So as we know, we have forming stage, we have norming stage. So they just go like that. Those are the team development stage, performing stage, norming stage, all those. So successful teams have to go through these stages so that they can be successful. So that is the how you are expected to give what? The introduction. That is how you're expected to give the introduction. That is how you're expected to give the introduction. So another aspect was to differentiate between a grievance as well as conflict, or to differentiate between a grievance as well as conflict. So it says when an employee is unhappy or has a problem or complaint in the workplace, that is what? A grievance. That is when the employee is not happy. There is something that is not going well with such an employee in the workplace. So we call that as a grievance. So then he or she is allowed to lodge a complaint. She or she is allowed to follow the grievance procedure so that such issue will be solved. But with conflict now, these are clash of opinions, ideas, viewpoints in the workplace. So those are the conflicts that it comes when now we are clashing with what? With ideas, with our views, the way we see things is different now. So that is when you're saying now, this is what? A conflict. That's when we are together sharing. But with conflict, that is where there's something that doesn't sit well at the workplaces. So it is when an individual or group has a work-related issue that is called a grievance. When an individual or group has a work-related issue, there is something that is not okay that is happening. The organization is not safe. It's not safe, maybe in terms of maybe toilets are not clean, things like that. So you are not happy with such issue. So we call it that as a grievance. But with conflict, that is when now we have what a disagreement between two or more parties. Once they clash and disagree. So it means that that you call it what a conflict. So if they don't agree on one another, so it means it's a conflict. So conflict is all about a disagreement that is taking place. So now we are given the examples there under grievance. Examples that can cause grievance is discrimination. So if you are not equally treated, you are discriminated maybe in terms of gender, race, and stuff like that. So that can as well cause what? A grievance. Unfair treatment. That is that. If you are unfairly treated, poor working conditions also can bring up what? A grievance. But with conflict, example that can cause conflict, lack of trust. If you don't trust each other's idea, each other's inputs and stuff like that. Miscommunication, if the communication is not even effective, also that can cause the conflict. Personality, as we have different personalities, so once they clash, now it's a problem. Also the different values. Hope we are together under that aspect where we were asked to differentiate reference as well as what? Conflict. Reference as well as conflict. So let us move on. Let us move on. Now we are on another aspect, criteria for successful team performance. Criteria for successful team performance. Which criteria we are to use to make sure that the team is going to perform very well. Then the first one is interpersonal attitudes and behavior. Interpersonal attitudes and behavior. How are you going to interact with other people? That interaction is very important. It can enable our team to perform. So members have a positive attitude of support and motivation towards each other. So members have a positive attitude of support and motivation towards one another. So if we have a positive attitude, if we are supporting one another, that will enhance a very good performance. Also, good and sound interpersonal relationship will ensure job satisfaction and as well as increase productivity of the team. So if we have what? Healthy relationships. If we have healthy relationship at workplace, that will ensure that there will be what? Job satisfaction. That will bring motivation. So you'll be satisfied, and then that will result in a very good production. So that is that. Members are committed, passionate, and towards achieving your common goal objectives. So that is when they are good interpersonal attitudes. The behavior is fine. So it means every member is going to be committed, passionate, and work towards achieving what? The goal of the business. Team leader acknowledges and give credit to members for positive contributions. So a team leader must always tell them when they are doing good. So that will motivate them. So a team leader must acknowledge and gives credit to members for positive contributions. So you must give credit to them so that they will push more, work very hard. That is that. So another criteria for team performance or successful team performance is shared values and mutual trust and support. So show loyalty or trust towards team members and despite mutual differences. So we have to be loyal on one. So we have to show loyalty on one eye. So that is why we are saying show loyalty or trust towards the members, despite mutual differences. We know we have differences, but if we can show that loyalty and trust towards team members, that as well can make our team to be successful. Also show respect for the knowledge or skills of each member. So for those who are more knowledgeable, show respect to them so that they can share with you, so that they can be able to help the organization to grow. So respect those who are more equipped with knowledge. Perform team tasks with integrity and operational responsibility, meeting team deadlines with necessary commitment to the team goals. So that is that. So now let us move on to another criteria. So the other criteria is communication. Communication. So with communication, a clear set of process or procedure for teamwork ensures that every team member understands his or her role. So this role should be clearly stated. Role should be clearly stated. Role should be clearly stated. That's what it means. The role should be clearly stated. So that is that where we are saying the roles are to be communicated clearly so that the team members will be able to carry out or know what are their responsibilities. Ability to communicate well and make quick decisions. So your communication should be very effective, free of bias, and then try by all means to make what? A quick decisions. So quick decisions are to be implemented. Communicates with team members and allows for feedback. So you communicate with team members, make sure that there is a communication that is taking place with team members, and then you allow for a feedback. Encourages discussion about the problem so that solutions can be found. So make sure that you enable the discussion to take place because of there will be ideas that are going to come of how the problems is going to be solved. So there will be good quality solutions if you discuss the problem with team members. Continuous review of team progress ensures that team members can rectify mistakes, act proactively to ensure the goal and targets are reached. Continuous review of team progress. So make sure that the team progress are reviewed continuously just to make sure that mistakes are going to be rectified early. And that will allow what the productivity to take place, and then it is going to be easy for the goals and the targets of the business to be met. So now let us move on. Let us move on. Now we are talking about cooperation as one of the criteria as well. Cooperation or collaboration. Cooperation or collaboration. So with cooperation or collaboration, clearly defined realistic goals are set so that all members know exactly what is to be accomplished. So clearly defined realistic goals are set. So you have to set a reliable goals that can be achieved. So they must be said clearly. That is that. Willingness to to cooperate as unit to achieve team objectives. So you become as one so that you can be able to achieve the team objectives. You cooperate. That is very important to cooperate as a unit. That will enable you to achieve what? The objectives, goals of the business. Cooperate with management to achieve team business objectives. There's supposed to be a cooperation with what? With management, because management are the ones who set the goals of the business, who thinks for the entire who thinks for the entire organization. So with their ideas to be well taken, to be well implemented, they need to cooperate with what? With team members, so that such objectives will be reached. Agree on methods and ways to get the job done effectively without wasting time on a conflict resolution. So don't take time on conflict resolution. Make sure that you reach the agreement, uh, you reach the agreement on time, so that whatever that you're planning will be implemented on time. All members take part in decision making. So make sure that everyone is going to contribute, because of all those ideas or solutions are needed. A balanced composition of skills, knowledge, experience, expertise ensures that the teams achieve their objectives. So that is that. So now let us move on. Let us move on to another aspect now. Stages of team development. Stages of team development. So we've said it that to reach the success, for the organization to be successful, for the team to succeed, for a team to succeed, it has to go through these stages. Now we are on forming stage. Forming stage. So with forming stage, this is individuals gather information, impressions about each other, the scope of the task, and how to approach it. So in the forming stage, that is the first meet. This is when the team is for the first time for a team to meet. So that is why they're going to gather information, impressions about each other, and the scope of what, and the scope of the task. This is a comfortable stage to be in, as the work has not yet started. So it's very comfortable stage, because we are still trying to know each other. We are still happy to each other. There are no challenges at this stage, as we haven't started the work. Individual focus on being busy with routine tasks such as team organization, who does what, then when to meet each other again. You see, that is on the forming stage. We are busy with our routine tasks such as the organization, who's going to do what, when, and stuff like that. Individuals are motivated by the desire or drive to be accepted by fellow team members. So they're motivated by being welcomed. So team members can determine how each one as an individual will respond under pressure. So that is on the forming stage, whereby we are saying it's the first mid stage, whereby we are welcoming other new members, new recruits. So there is no much in that stage. That is why we call it a comfortable stage. Now we are to move on. Now we are to move on to performing or waiting, performing or waiting stage. Performing or waiting stage. So now let us look at the storming stage. Storming stage. Not performing, but storming stage. So here, teams go through a period of uneasy conflict after formation. So teams now go under uneasy or conflict after formation because now they are now starting to work. They are now trying to put now the plan into implementation. So they are trying to share ideas. So they are going to be conflicts that are going to arise. Different ideas from team members will compete for consideration. So now we're talking about what? Different ideas that are going to compete from, which are going to compete. So now it means this is a stage whereby now each and everyone is trying to give his or her view. So that's why you're going to experience some conflicts, and that is why it is an easy stage. Team members open up to each other and confront each other's ideas and perspectives. So here, that is where now we can confront and challenge each other's ideas. That is at this stage that this can happen or take place. Tension, struggle, and arguments occur in this stage and upset the team members. There may be power struggles for the position of team lead. So that is where right now you are going to be tensions. There are going to be arguments that are going to break up because now we're going to disagree with others' ideas and stuff like that. We are told that there may be what? A power struggles for the position of the team leader. In some instances, storming can be resolved quickly. In others, the team never leave this stage. This is a very difficult stage. This is a difficult stage that you find that there are team members that do not leave this stage because of not reaching what? The agreement. This is one of the difficult stage to just pass it easily because this is whereby now we need ideas, views, different ideas where there are a lot of conflicts. So, but in some other teams, you find it that they are able to just resolve it quickly. They just get into agreement without wasting time. Many teams fail during this stage. Many teams fail during this stage as they are not focused on their task. So many teams, like they've said, they don't leave this stage. They fail while they are only on this stage because of not focusing on their task. This phase can become destructive for the team and will negatively impact on team performance. If allowed to get out of control, this stage cannot be effectively managed. If they can fail to manage this stage, this is where now it is going to impact the team performance. It's going to affect the team performance. So that is that. This stage is necessary, important for the growth of the team. So because we allow what the participation, we allow the ideas, different ideas. So you'll find that it will make the team to grow because we will get the best out of those ideas, and then that is that. So now we have to move on. Now to Nomi stage. Now we are on Nomi stage. Noming or setting and reconciliation. That is a Nomi stage. Team members come to an agreement. After we have passed the storming, now with this stage, we are coming to an agreement and we reach what the consensus. So role and responsibilities are now clear and accepted. Remember, in the storming stage, we were just bringing out our ideas, different ideas. So when we come to this stage, if we can pass Tommy's stage, it means when we are on Nomi's stage, it means now we have reached what? An agreement. Now everyone knows his or her role and responsibilities. Process or working style and mutual respect develop amongst the members. So this is where right now the mutual respect is going to be seen. This seen at this stage. Team members have the ambition to work for the success of the team because of now we are agreeing. Now we see the direction. With this stage, it shows that there is a direction now because now we tend to agree. We tend to have one agreement. Conflict may occur, but commitment and unity are strong. Yeah, it may happen that we can have what conflicts even at this stage, but they are not as strong. What is strong is what? Commitment and unity. Commitment and unity are the ones that are strong. Hope we are still together. Now we have to move on. We have to move on to performing stage. We have to move on to performing stage. After the norming, we are coming to the performing stage. Now our team is performing. Now our team is working according to what is expected out of them. So they are on the right direction now. So it says team members are aware of the strategies and aims of the team. So they are very much aware of the strategies and what are the aims of the team. They have a direction without interference from a leader. So they can now work towards the goals of the business without being on the watch of the leader. That is that. Processes and structures are set now. Leaders can now delegate and oversee the processes and procedures. So now you can be able, now the team is managed now. They know what is expected out of them. So it is easy for a delegation to take place. All members are now competent. They can now deliver, autonomous, and able to handle the decision-making process without a supervision. So they are now competent enough that they can do everything without being supervised. Differences among members are appreciated and used to enhance team's performance. Unlike in the stormy stage, whereby they are not appreciated, there were conflicts, but now the differences now are respected and they know that the differences are going to contribute positively towards the team's performance now. They understand the differences now. Team members find ways to complete tasks without conflict and external supervision. So that is that. Now let us move on to adjoining or morning stage. With adjoining or morning stage, the focus is on the completion. Here we want to complete now. Completion of the task, and ending what? Ending the project. So breaking up the team may be traumatic, as team members may find it difficult to perform as individuals once again. So now when they are to part ways, when they are to part ways, now it's going to become difficult because now they are used to work together. So that is that. All tasks needed to be completed before the team finally dissolves. So that is that. Hope we're still together. Hope we're still together. Now we are under the handling of conflicts as one of the aspects that we are to talk about, that we are to discuss. So here are answers of how we can handle the conflict in the workplace. How we can handle the conflict in the workplace. So it says Acknowledge that there is a conflict in the workplace. So you have to acknowledge. For easy to handle it, you have to acknowledge that there is what? A conflict. Acknowledge that there is a conflict. So that is how when that can be able to be resolved. Or that is how we can solve it. Acknowledge that there is a problem, there is a conflict here. Identify the cause of the conflict. What causes this conflict? That is very important to know. What is the reason for us to have this conflict? That is when it will be easy for you to attend to it, because you'll go straight to the root cause of the conflict. Pre-negotiations may be arranged where workers and complainants will be allowed to state their case and views separately. So there will be what? A pre-negotiations. There's an arrangement of pre-negotiations that is going to be allowed, where workers are to bring out their complaints and their cases separately, because we are looking to for making sure that we are going to solve the conflict. A time and place are arranged for negotiations where all employees involved are present. So there will be a time that is going to be set whereby now the employees are going to be present now. Arrange a meeting between conflicting employers as well or employees. So the meeting is to be arranged for the conflicting employees, or if they are employers who are conflicting, so there should be a meeting. Make intentions for intervention clear so that parties involved may feel at ease. So make intentions for the intervention clear so that the parties that are involved, they're going to be at ease. They are not going to freeze. Each party has the opportunity to express his or her opinions. So you're given the chance to bring up your opinions so that you know that you will leave that meeting happy, knowing for sure that your opinions, your feelings have been attended to. Each party has the opportunity to press, or that is what they have said. Feelings, conflicting parties may recognize that their views are different. Analyze the cause of conflict by breaking it down into different parts and evaluate the situation objectively. You have to evaluate the situation in an objective way, objectively. Blame shifting should be avoided and joint effort should be made. So blame shifting should be avoided. Don't shift the blame to any. Direct conflicting parties towards finding or focusing on solutions. That is that. Devise or brainstorm possible ways of resolving what? The conflict. That is that. Conflicting parties agree on the criteria to evaluate what the alternatives. The best possible solution is or are selected and implemented. Parties must agree on the best solution. That is that. Evaluate or follow up on the implementation of the solution. Monitor the progress to ensure that the conflict has been resolved. The expertise on handling conflict may be sourced from outside the business. So these are the answers that you have to give under the handling of the conflict in the workplace. So that's now we are to conclude now our question 6 AC. So this is how we are going to conclude. This is a conclusion. Business must ensure that the process is fair and transparent when dealing with all grievances. So transparency and the fairness of it is very important. So make sure that you are not going to take side. Be transparent. Conflict cannot always be resolved or avoided or eliminated. Therefore, people need to learn how to manage conflict within a team in order to work in an harmony. So they should know that there will always be a conflict. So it cannot be avoided or not be eliminated at all. So they have to learn how to manage it because it will be there. The success of the business depends on the successful collaboration within a team to ensure that the objectives of the business will be met. So it depends on a successful collaboration. So the collaboration is the one that can make sure that the team is going to work together. If you can collaborate, it means you're going to work together towards one common goal. So that is the end of this presentation. Thank you very much for your time. Make sure that you are going to share with those who are concerned, and make sure that you are as well going to hit the subscription button. So make sure that you use this presentation as to help you when you're going to write the essay or for paper two. So it will help you a lot. So that is that. Thank you very much.